Shalom, shalom. Highly welcome, my brothers and sisters out there. I'm glad that you just clicked to watch this particular message. Today, I'm going to be able to take the time to be able to elaborate and be able to expatiate for this individual who asked these particular questions in regards to the teaching that I just made based on Jacob and Israel. And this particular question is a very, very important one because this would lay a foundation of understanding into, through which one can be seated and see the light ahead or see the light. And this is the purpose of, of the teaching on its own, to be able to make you to see those mysteries that are already contained in the scripture, how it is being written on a plain sight, so that you can be able to now understand it for what it was actually meant for. And so this is the reason why I want us to be able to take the time, to take a little time to be able to dissect the question that this individual asked. And it is a very, very important one. And so this is why I want us to be able to read it out, to be able to see. So the question runs like this, He said, so brother, does Revelation chapter number 7 from verse number 9 reflect the spiritual Israel? I want you to be able to understand it. He is asking. The book of Revelation, there are people who are being listed in the book of Revelation. There are tribes that are being listed in the book of Revelation. Those people who are listed in the book of Revelation are called tribes of Israel. Now, remember from the teaching before he asked this question, we already had a teaching which is about Jacob and Israel. So the people who are in the book of Revelation, these are the tribes of Israel. So the tribes of Israel we are talking about is what he is referring to as what? The spiritual Israel. You need to be able to understand. So his question is, this individual's question is, he said here, does this place reflect the spiritual Israel from all nations? Because we have nations, tribes, and tongue, which comprises every other nation. And you got it, my brothers and sisters out there. The one that wrote this exactly understood it. And that is exactly what it is. This book of Revelation is a comparison, that is to say, a gathering up together of people from different walks of life, from different nations, tribes, and tongues, being gathered through how? Through the word of Jacob, the word that came through Jacob, the word that was being shown in Jacob, now manifested in order to do what? In order to create his own word, which is the Israel in the book of what? Revelation. Now I'm going to explain things to you. Because like I said, we have talked about the tribes, the children of Jacob. He wants to be able to know more about what? About the book of Revelation 7:9. If these people, if they are all literally, are they comparison of? So, like I said, it is exactly he understood it. So it means that what? Everybody who is in the book of Revelation, the tribes of Israel, we are people who we are born through the word that came out from who? From Jacob. Every single tribes which are in the book of Revelation are born through the word that came from who? Jacob. And who is that? He showed his word unto Jacob. Now getting the seed. Now those people now are going to be the pioneers of these particular tribes, because they were born from the word. Now they are creating their own word. And who is the one that started the creation of this word, which is called the tribes of Israel, or which is called Israel in the book of Revelation? It is Yahushua. It is who? Yahushua. So what we are talking about is that who is the one that started the creation of these tribes? Who manifested, because his manifestation through the word of, through the showing forth from the tribes of Jacob was for him to be able to do what? To establish these tribes of Israel. And therefore, Jacob on his own has his own what? 12 tribes. So these 12 tribes of Israel should not be mistaken with this. This is the one that came as a result of the obedience of those who were born through the word that was being shown in Jacob. This is how these people were being born. Are you following me, my brothers and sisters? Now, I want to take it very slow so that I won't be in a rush in it, so that you can be able to really understand what is going on here. So, his questions is very clear. And it was very, very relieving to see that the brother or the sister who asked this question really understood exactly what the message that I made was all about. And this is how you know, because the question that he asked is absolutely, the first sentence that you see there is what? Absolutely yes. And what was his question? He said, does Revelation 7:9 reflect the spiritual Israel, which spiritual Israel from all nations? Does it reflect from all nations, tribes, and tongue, people birthed from the word of Jacob? The answer is an absolute yes, brother and sister, whoever asked that particular question. Because you know why? It is through the word. The word was being shown in Jacob. And so since the word was being shown in Jacob, the word manifested in Jacob. And it is through this particular word that this tribe of Israel was being done what? Created. And so therefore, the people who made it here are not just people from the tribe of Jacob, but they are from other nations, tribes, and tongues, which is the reason why the Bible talked about what? Multitude of nations. Nations that is going to be, that's which no man can number. So there are people now who came and believe through the word of Yah, in order to be part of this word. Because now what you need to be able to understand is that in these tribes of Israel, which is in the book of Revelation, there are also tribes. Let's say in those particular places now you have God, which we know that there are many. There are the 12 tribes which are there. You have God, you have the tribes of what? Manasseh. Right? So we have the tribe of God, Manasseh, we have the tribe of Issachar, we have the tribe of other ones. But then when you come to this particular one, you see that, just like as I was saying, that there are people who were here among the tribes of Jacob, but they are missing here. That should sound a very big alarm to you. Because some people, you will hear them, they will try to be able to do whatsoever reason that they have to be able to give. There is nothing reason outside what I'm telling you, my brothers and sisters, other than Dan, who is not among the tribes of Israel in the book of Revelation. We don't need the Danites in the book of Revelation. Why? The reason is simple. The reason is that Dan is a serpent. Now, what do I mean by that? Dan is the one that is, originally being made to do what? To judge his people. How does he judge his people? He judged his people by what? By being a serpent. A serpent is something that puts a stumbling block. What do I mean by a stumbling block? That puts a hindrance. If they are trying to do something, if they have not surmounted that hindrance, then that means they cannot go on the next level. You have to pass through this barrier in order for you to scale through. So Dan is a deceiver among the children of Jacob. Dan is here. Dan is here. This is where Dan is found. Now the work of Dan is to be a judge of his people. Now to be a judge is like to be a stumbling block that will be hindering them from scaling through or from believing. Those who were there, who were being trapped through the stumbling block of Dan, were not able to scale through to be born in this spiritual Israel. So they were being trapped under the children of Jacob here. So they could not scale through, making the purpose of why Dan was being made a fulfillment. Are you getting it? Dan has his role to play among the children of Jacob. No, let's go to the book. I want us to be able to see something in the Bible so that you can be able to really see and understand what is really going on, my brothers and sisters out there. Follow with me. Follow with me right now. We want to check something real quick to be able to really see things which has already been written already. So go with me to the book of Genesis chapter number 30. Genesis chapter number 30. Now we want to read from verse number 30, and we want to read from verse number 6. Listen to what the Bible says. The Bible says here, and Richard said, Elohim had judged me, and had also heard my voice, and had given me a son. Therefore called she his name Dan. Understand it? So Dan, the mother, already had said that that this child is here in order to be a judge. Who's judge? Who is he going to judge? Now you need to be able to understand where I'm going to. And how is he going to play that role of being a judge? He is a serpent. He is going to put a stumbling block because his brothers are going to be stumbling. They are going to be falling. What I mean by falling is that if they are not able to see those traps, and they cannot see those traps with an ordinary eye, so an illusion is going to be placed before them. By who? By Dan. So they can't see. So if their eyes is not being pierced through that illusion, that means they cannot scale the traps, the stumbling block, which Dan have placed in front of them, because the moment they surmount that particular trap, that means they are now scaled over. They have now scaled over. Therefore, that trap or that stumbling block does not have effect on them. As many as have scaled through the trap of Dan are now going to be born in the world of Israel. But as many as are being trapped by the stumbling block of Dan, then that means those people are trapped within this particular world of Jacob, and they are being what? They are being recycled within the world of Jacob, which makes the work of Dan very much active within this world of Jacob. So Dan, being a serpent that he is playing a role to judge the people, the children of his brothers, his brethren actually, and every other people. Now listen to what the Bible, I want the Bible to be able to explain these things to you. Now listen to what the Bible says here. Richard said, I've wrestled with my sister and I have. Now, I want us to be able to go real quick, 49:16. 49:16. The same book of Genesis. Because when you understand the word, it makes a lot of, you begin to be able to, see things more clearer. Listen to what the Bible says in 49 from verse number 16. Or we're going to start from verse number 16. He said here, so we're talking about the Danites now. He said here, verse 16, Dan shall judge who? I want you to open your Bible, my brothers and sisters out there. Open your Bible. Genesis 49, verse number 16. Genesis 49, verse number 16. Wait a minute. What happened here? What did I just read now? They said here, the Bible said here, Dan shall judge his people as one of the tribes of Israel. Now listen to what happened here. He said Dan is going to be the one that is going to judge his people here. This is his people, isn't it? The people of the tribe of Jacob. We know that in the 49th verse, the Bible already made mention of and that is in verse number 49, where the Bible said that Dan shall be a serpent. So we know that Dan came from this lineage. So, but he's going to be playing a role here. And what is that role? He's going to be a judge among his brethren, which are the children of what? Of Jacob. Now, this role which he's going to be playing as what? As a serpent. Where do I write? This role which he's going to be playing as a serpent is not going to be needed here, because you have a trap that you've set for people. And these people have scaled that trap. They can see your trap. They can see what you are trying to do, the stumbling blocks that you are putting. They were able to see it how? By following the word which was being shown through Jacob. So the moment they were able to follow the word that is being shown through Jacob, this word showed them the way to be able to do what? To pass the stumbling block that Dan have placed. So this is the reason why Dan is considered what? The serpent, because he is there among his brethren, and yet he is the one that is causing the fall of his brethren. But this is his role. He has to do it. He has to be a gatekeeper to prevent people who are trying to be able to do what? To scale to go to this particular Israel. So he is playing his own role as a serpent. So meanwhile, since he is playing his role, then that means his role is under Jacob. Therefore, we, the people who are under the tribes of Israel, in the book of Revelation chapter number 7 verse 9, we don't need Dan to be there, because all of them who were able to make it here have already scaled through the traps which were being set by who? By the Danites. Because they have a role. Each tribe of the nations have their own role which they are playing. So the role of Dan, the role of the Danites, was to be putting a stumbling block for his brethren. To be a judge for his brethren. That means they would be able to bring deception. Just take for example now, they can bring an image, an idol to them, knowing that if they are going to do what, Dan can play that role of being a serpent that is going to use an idol to entice the people who are among the children of Jacob. Now, if they fall, the blame is not going to go to the serpent, because this is his purpose. Are you getting where I'm going to? So the blame is not going to be on the serpent, because he is doing his job. So since he is doing his job, the blame is going to be on you, who was being distracted by following an idol which was being made with hand, and through that particular idol now, you have been, you have been now trapped by the things which were being, which were being created by the serpent, which is done, and therefore you are now being trapped under these particular people. Because why? Your mighty one said that what? You should not follow the idols of all the nations. You should not make you an idol. Now, the serpent created an idol, or made an idol Now, through that idol, people who are from here now, for example, now decided to be able to do what? To follow that idol. So they don't have the serpent or the Danite to blame, but they have themselves to blame because they heard the word, but they choose not to follow the word. So therefore, the stumbling block that the serpent has placed here has caught them. So therefore, the transitioning of coming here, they were not able to do what? To materialize into what? Into be born among the people who are here. Because if you would have obeyed the word of what? Of you, the word that came out from Jacob, you would not be following that idol, which was being created by the serpent, which is the Danite, who placed it, used it as what? A stumbling block. Are you getting where I'm going to, my brothers and sisters out there? So, since they have used that as an instrument to keep people from the two sides, then that means the people who were being trapped here are still under what? Under the control of what? Of these serpents or the Danites. Because they have not been able to do what? To scale through. And so this is how